Hey, this is Dan Cervantes, co-founder of Harmonic, and you're watching Coefficient, our interview series where we talk with creative businesses and creators that are working together. And so often, think of like large tech companies like streaming are really misaligned with creator values. They extract more from creators than they give back. We're talking with creators and businesses that are kind of resetting that alignment. In this interview, I speak with Rae Isla. Rae is an Americana artist, singer-songwriter. She's also known as the Traveling Bard, and I think she lives up to that name. You can see her performing locally in LA at places like Hotel Cafe and Desert 5 Spot, but she's also done island tours of the Pacific Northwest, and she just completed a 12-date tour in the UK, a country she's never performed in before. And I believe right now, her music video is being shown at independent film festivals, and she's popping up and playing at a few of those. When I set up this interview, I wanted to talk with Rae about how she accomplished this 12-date tour in a country she'd never been in as an independent artist and kind of doing it on your own. And Rae pushed back at that framing. Rae, I think, correctly pointed out that independent artistry is not really about doing it all yourself. It's about collaborating with others, whether those are band members or booking agents or managers or videographers. It's about building relationships and collaborations where everyone wins. And I think Rae is such a great example of that. And she's shown that in helping us at Harmonic and providing an artist perspective as we've been building out this platform. So I'm so grateful for Rae for spending time with me and having this conversation. Without further ado, Rae Isla. Rae, thank you for jumping on and doing this conversation fresh off of, I assume, swimming back from England and getting back stateside.
It took a while, but I did it.
You certainly have you like islands. You did your Northwest Island tour last year, and now you've done UK.
Certainly. I mean, my last name, ISLA.
Right, there you go. Do you have more islands on your list? Japan?
Oh, yeah, don't get me started about my personal travel list. Although, if I can find an excuse to do a show, I mean, there really is no line between personal and professional travel at this point. Thanks for mentioning the PNW Pacific Northwest Island Tour. We're doing it again this summer in August.
Awesome.
It's going to be a yearly tradition.
Very cool. So let's start this conversation by kind of framing who you are as an artist. I know you as someone that is fiercely independent and maybe a little bit of a rebel in some ways, but you've got a manager that you're very close with, right? You've got a band. You kind of know how to put a team together, and so you're, I think, a very interesting example of what independent music can look like. Do you want to talk a little bit about how you think about being an independent artist right now?
Well, it's funny because I probably, and maybe it's just semantics, but I probably see myself as less fiercely independent and DIY as I'm labeled, because I see it. I don't think independence is like at the cost of relying on institutions or the industry. And I think some people get that twisted where it's like, well, if you're independent, you must hate the system, which I don't. I love the system. I understand the system. I see a lot of, I understand the system. I don't love everything about it.
Right.
And so, but yeah, I think independence in my case, and maybe in most cases, comes out of necessity. I think we're in a time, certainly in the world, but also in creative industries, where these institutions that we grew up believing would come and save us, come and pluck us out of obscurity and choose us, say, you're important, that was like a guarantee. And not only is it not a guarantee because there are many people that want to pursue the arts as a career, but it's also just not really the way anymore, I think, in general. I think we're seeing a lot of breakthrough artists, like artists I really love, who don't rely on industry, especially in the beginning. So I appreciate the fiercely independent DIY label, but I
I
want to
think
make
you
sure
flipped it in a very
yeah,
interesting
there's a
way.
nuance.
Yeah.
There's a nuance to it for sure. I think my dream for like the next stage of my career, and I think a good like um structure for many artists who want to have autonomy over their careers should be like go as far as you can on your own and assemble like resources and people and power and leverage, and then go to these institutions and say, this is what I've done, this is what I'm willing to do, can we partner? And I think I'm excited to start having those conversations for myself. And yeah, I don't, now we're just
Uh,
talking about independence in general.
I know it's so easy for me to go down tangents, but I do want to bring up something that you just said because I think it comes up the more conversations I have with people where when it comes to particularly technology, maybe not so much music business institutions, but the technology that we all kind of rely on, uh, kind of the default status is to be a just kind of cog in a piece of technology. And so particularly when it comes to algorithmic platforms, you think of creating content to get featured in the platform, right? And that's kind of the technology using you. And the most creative artists, the smartest artists find a way to flip that and say, I'm going to use this technology rather than be used by it. And that makes me think of the postcard campaign you did where you got people to sign up to receive a postcard from you. And that was launched on social media, an algorithmic platform. And rather than doing social media for social media's sake, you did that to build a closer relationship with all these people that I'm sure some were, fans of yours that have known you for a while, and some were probably totally new faces. And you were able to extract value from technology rather than technology extracting value from you. And I think that's a dynamic that hopefully we see more of as people recognize that algorithms can't love you back, but it's very clever. And I wonder how much of the ethos of that campaign is kind of mirrored in how you're doing bigger things like this tour.
Wow, you had a few good sound bites in there that I would love to address them all. The ethos of that campaign is the ethos of who I am as a person, but in my opinion, there's nothing novel about it. It's okay. I'm gonna say something that maybe might sound funny, but this is what comes to mind. I think I may have an upper hand because I'm single. In that, unfortunately or fortunately, I've experienced dating apps, and I've had serious relationships and stuff, but I've kind of experienced dating apps when they started, and I've dabbled with them recently. And when I think about dating apps and social media, they're very similar. I mean, the way that they're built to keep us on there and engage, and they're subscription based and all that stuff. But with a dating app, it's very obvious that the end game is to get off that app and have a real connection with someone, whether it's a date or a long-term relationship. And so maybe my brain was making some kind of connection where I'm like, why would I not want to be doing the same thing on social media? I don't want my relationships to exist in this shallow, swipey way. And maybe I'm able to compartmentalize that this is romantic, this is not romantic, but I think I approach fan building in a similar way to dating. And when I zoom out, I just see that this is how, as a human being living in this world, we continue to forge deep relationships and real community, even though we're doing it in a way that our ancestors weren't doing it. Does that make sense?
It's a really clever metaphor. That's
It's not, it's just, it makes
well,
sense.
all right, it's obvious to you, and I think
Yeah,
you have probably numerous kind of unique perspectives on things, and when they come together, it's like, well, duh,
sure.
obviously this is how it should be done. But I mean, that metaphor alone is a revelation for me, and yeah, because people just don't frame it because I think the typical framing for anything social media is you got to get the numbers to go up, right? It's just kind of you want to reach more people, you want more followers. That's kind of the um, expectation when you think of growth there, but it's so limiting to think of growth as just, can I get more people to follow me on this platform as opposed to can I get the right people to connect with me in real life? And that's probably just a healthier way of looking at the world as well.
I think maybe it's also that if we could have a whole conversation about our society's idea of what love is, but for some reason we reserve this like the deepest part of ourselves and the most like holy version of connection with a person for romantic love. And we don't see that it really is the same thing that's happening. I mean, for me, I literally love the people who come to my shows. I feel something for them and they feel something for me. And it's not romantic, but it's weird that we reserve this like amazing feeling only for this one person that's going to make our lives better. And we don't let that trickle down into our other relationships. Maybe that's the real nugget of this conversation today.
That's going to get even deeper. But yeah, I understand what you're saying. There's a vulnerability associated with that too, I think, particularly for you as an artist, is to get people to love you and to love and to love them back. It means exactly that, being more vulnerable and showing more of yourself and not having as many walls up, which probably speaks, you know, it's what it's how you feel about the community that you're building. If you're sharing love with your fans, and that is a community, a family, that's not just I don't know, a brand and their customers, right? It's much more into, I know, but you know, kind of to show the other side of that coin. I think you're thinking about it in a more personal way than is often talked about. And so let's kind of get back to the tour they just completed, because I think that's maybe it's really it's a byproduct of how you run your artistry, right? But you just did this huge tour in a different country. I think it was 11 dates, if I counted correctly.
We added another show at the last minute. Technically 12, but yes, 11
12.
actually.
Take 12, yeah. That's pretty crazy, right? To go to a different country and be able to tour around. Tell us how the opportunity even came up, how you kind of got yourself in a position where this was feasible.
Opportunity came up. Let's see. It was about 2 years ago. I was putting out my album New Frontier and posting a tremendous amount, more than usual, and putting some ad spend and really just giving it my all. An album cycle tends to do that. And, it's one of those things where it's like, you never know who's going to see your music, and that's why you just have to do it. You never know where those relationships are going to lead to. And in this case, there was a woman named Madeline who, she runs a radio station in Brentwood, Essex, which is just outside of London, called Phoenix. And she saw one of my Instagram videos, I think through an ad, actually. It was a video for the song Miles and Miles, where I was just walking along a road and it was like changing frame. It was a really cool thing. We did in Eastern Washington. And she reached out. She's like, hey, I run a little radio station. I'd love to interview you. I love this song. I especially love country Americana artists, women, da da da. So we did an interview. It was great. It was honestly just like this and very fun. And then we stayed in touch. I made a point of like sending her things when they came out. I think I sent her a postcard when the album came out. And then we did another interview at some point and just kind of became friends, from afar. And last fall, she reached out to me and she said, hey, how would you feel about coming to play some shows over here? I run this radio station. I'm talking to artists from the States and the UK all the time about their work and stuff. And there's kind of a boom for this genre of music happening in the UK, but nobody really knows how to get over here, at the DIY level. And so she's like, if I could book you some shows, would you come? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And I was just coming off of my PNW tour, so I had some really interesting like data to share with her. I was like, I kind of know what works and what doesn't work, and I kind of know what I need, which is like I'm at a stage where if I'm going to be going on tour and, spending thousands of dollars up front baseline, I need a guarantee that I will make some of that back. And I'm okay if that looks like doing some shows that, maybe aren't on market and ticketed. Maybe it's like more of a pub with a guarantee. Like, let's put it together that way. So I gave her my requirements. Didn't hear back. We're business as usual. I went into funding and recording an album, which was all encompassing. And then she reached back out about a month later and saying like, hey, I have some updates. And I was like, okay, yeah, how's it going? She's like, oh, I booked you 11 shows. Like, what? And she's like, yeah, it's done. And so then I was like, oh, well, then I got to do my side. I got to start thinking about this thing and booking tickets. And we put it all together. My manager, Sam, agreed to come. I'd like to say, more importantly, her wife, Mads, and her dog, Moose, allowed her to come. And started to just figure out, okay, got to get a visa. Madeline helped with finding a visa person. I have to figure out how we're going to travel around. Sam really helped with that. I kind of decided I could afford to bring one person with me. So I can either bring like one of my band members who's also kind of a music director, or I can bring someone to help with logistics and marketing stuff. And so I chose Sam, or rather she said she wanted to come. And then we did it. I mean, I published a very long tour diary the other day about the details of the trip, the logistics and stuff, which I would love for artists to read because, it's kind of comical, but also you can kind of see the reality of it.
Mm-hmm.
And what I didn't know until I got over there was that I was Madeline's guinea pig for her new booking business. I didn't realize I was number one. I'm often the guinea pig. That's not nothing new for me. But what was so cool is that in the short span of time from when she reached out, months later having the shows, to us, putting together the marketing materials and me figuring out how I want to talk about this tour on social media and do the postcard club and things like that. In the span of 3 or 4 months from conception to execution, which is really short for a tour, especially an international tour, she had launched her booking business and she has 15 other artists coming to the UK this year. And she booked artists for C2C, which is one of the bigger country music festivals. And so this is almost a story of her DIY-ness. And this is why I sort of like identify as DIY, but if you do things, you'll find other people who also want to do things. And chances are those people will have resources, or they're truly working in the industry. In this case, like a radio presenter, she had this platform, and it becomes more of a partnership, and you can do things together, and it's much easier.
So you kind of set this up in with two interesting things. So you had this I was gonna say organic relationship with Madeline, but she discovered you through social media, and you did an interview, and you kept in touch with her. Talk about being an artist and keeping in touch with someone, because I've seen this. I've seen this myself. I've seen this with some artist friends where you can feel like you're badgering someone by keeping up with them, or trying to get something out of them. I know how you operate, and that's neither of those sound like how you operate. So how did you think about maintaining a relationship with Madeline?
The honest answer is I don't have to think about it, because I like people.
Or maybe what did that look like? How did you?
Gotcha. I mean, first of all, I get that. Like I still catch myself not reaching out to people because I feel like I'm annoying. And then they will tell me verbatim, why didn't you send me your show? I had that encounter the other day where she was like, you don't understand. I've asked you before, send me every show you do, send me everything you release. I'm a busy person. And I'm like, but I thought, so I totally get that. But in Madeline's case, I mean, that's the thing about connection. We use that word as like a connection is like a LinkedIn connection or a follower. A connection is something that you feel in your heart. And that's the truth of it. Madeline connected with my music. I did this interview with her. I thought she was hilarious. I connected with her. I wanted to stay in touch. It was plain and simple. You know, when you stay connected with people, try to eradicate the thought from your mind that they can do anything for you, because they can't unless it works out for them as well. And that's not really up to either of you. It's like where your paths lead. And so if you genuinely have a good conversation with someone or a good experience, and it's within the context of your music, you know, so you are moving the needle, you are achieving something by doing that with them, then just keep them in your life. Like, include them on your Merry Christmas text list. Or, you know, I already send out 1,000 postcards a year to strangers. Why can I not send one to someone who I genuinely like? And just keep them in mind in your general correspondence. Because, yeah, and I think it's also an intuitive thing. Like, if you feel connected to someone, keep that alive. You don't know what it's going to turn into. In this case, if you had asked me, like, is this girl who did an interview that found my video going to book my first international tour? I would have been like, what are you on, man? What are you even talking about? Like, that's far-fetched. Yeah, I don't know. I wish there was a copy-paste way to maintain professional relationships, but it's just, don't think about them doing anything for you. Just think about how they make you feel and stay in touch.
Right. Yeah. People are not tools to be used. They're people to collaborate with and have friendships with. Yeah. Well, so the other interesting thing and smart thing you did there is when the opportunity presented itself, you kind of came with receipts because you had done the Pacific Northwest tour. You had, you were clearly very reflective about it and kind of built a case study of, what did it look like financially? What do you need to make another version of that successful? Do you do that for every release and every tour? Tell me your process of reflecting on the business side of things.
I think in another life, I was a scientist, probably a mad scientist, because I can't not do that. I treat every project I do as an experiment. And like, the beautiful thing about this life, or like this pursuit or whatever, is that, especially when you do it longer, you kind of figure out what bits of it you like and how to compartmentalize the business side and the art side. When I'm doing something, when I'm on the road, I'm in motion, or when I'm in the studio, I'm in motion, I am very present. I'm in my body. I am there as the artist. But when it's over, I can put that to the side, knowing that that happened and feeling what it felt and having an artifact of that, which is either, content from a tour, the shows themselves, or in the case of recording a record. And then I get to be the scientist, which I think I used to stifle that part of me. But now I love it. I look at all of this information and I get to make sense of it, and I get to contextualize it, and I get to choose how it defines my feeling of success. And that's changed over time. Like, if I had done a tour a few years ago, I wouldn't have cared if I spent all my savings on it. I just get to be on the road. But now I really need to feel as though I'm not in a deficit so that I can move forward to the next thing. So I love analyzing data, and I do maybe a little more than some of my peers, like take something like a tour and treat it like an experiment with knowns and unknowns, and document enough so I can analyze it and do it again, and ideally grow it, but also pass that knowledge on to others transparently.
When you presented this, I guess not just data, it's kind of what you needed in order to make this UK tour make sense. What was Madeline's response? How did that play into the collaboration, and how did that change certain decisions? You talked about playing maybe different types of venues or doing non-ticketed events. What was the conversation like after that?
Oh, Madeline's the best. She just said yes to everything. She said, yep, yep. I'll get it done. And then when she got it, some people say yes because they want to keep you happy, and then they don't get it done, and that's okay. Thin margins here, everybody's busy, but she just did it. And I think that's something I've learned as well, is like, I've gotten better at asking for what I need because it's the best chance of getting it. So yeah, it was easy for me to look at my spreadsheet and be like, what worked, what didn't work. And then also, I will say, and this is just maybe a little bit of advice, if you're going abroad for the first time, don't do it alone. I think definitely bring someone, especially as a young woman. But don't bring the whole band. Don't pull out all the stops. Get a sense of what it is before you spend all of your money. Do something that's really risky.
And you've got, I think, a pretty impressive merch game too. And I know you like to have your suitcase at the merch stand. How did you think about that when traveling internationally?
You want to know something funny? I had a friend over yesterday, and because I painted my suitcases with my logo, which I don't know. I don't even know why I did that. I've owned those suitcases since 2021. But she was over and she was like, oh, your suitcases are so cool. They're so signature you, like they are traveling barn suitcases. I bought them off of Facebook Marketplace for $20 before I went on a little tour between New York and Nashville. It was like a 6-state tour when I was while I was living in Mexico City. I bought them because I didn't have any suitcases in the States. And I thought they were cute and they were cheap. And then I grew into them. Like, I wasn't using them until recently. I've carried them with me from New York, Mexico City, Seattle, stuck them in my car, drove down to LA, and moved to Venice Beach a couple of years ago. And it wasn't until, I want to say, the last year or two where I was like, you know what, these are actually like aesthetically pretty perfect for me. So I had to like become the traveling bard in order to utilize these suitcases I had lying around, which is something that happens a lot. Sometimes your intuition attracts you to something, whether it's like a physical object or clothing, or maybe there's an album you really like, and for some reason you're like, how can I make music like that? And it won't be until years later that you've arrived to a place where you're matching that thing you're attracted to. But so my merch game is, I almost feel like I've fallen into it, because I've had these suitcases lying around, and there's a small one and a big one. And so since I was flying with them, I had to look at the measurement requirements, and it was the perfect size to bring. We sold out of vinyl on my last show.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. Actually, I wish I brought a few more because a few people couldn't buy them, but yeah.
Great planning though. Great estimation.
That suitcase is a Mary Poppins suitcase. There was way more vinyl in there than you would think.
This whole experience that you just had is a really great example of what's the saying? Luck is when preparation meets opportunity. Like, you made opportunity happen for yourself because you ran these campaigns, and then when someone did connect with you through it, you went into that very intentionally. You created a bond with that person. You didn't just let it be a one and done thing. And you also prepared because it sounds like every kind of milestone that you hit, you're not letting that milestone just like disappear in the rear view mirror. You're taking what you can learn from it and using that to inform your next steps. And so I'm curious, you said you've got the another Pacific Northwest tour coming up. How has all of this informed what you want to do moving forward?
I mean, I want to say it's business as usual. I'm always pretty go, go, go. And it's because I know what I like to do. And I've set myself up in a way where I have a little bit of breathing room to think about what that process looks like. The next thing I have coming, other than some show, I think it's really, I live in LA and I'm definitely a part of the scene. And so I have a few shows coming up this month. One with SoCal Sounds, which is a radio station, and another, I'm curating a night at Desert 5 Spot. And I'm like, man, that's the perfect homecoming to just like, these are Southern California shows where I'm putting a lot into them. And that second show at Desert 5, which is on the 31st, I'm bringing in the band because I'm like, and it's kind of it's a different band than like there's a couple different members. There's always sort of a rotating cast, and so I'm like, I really want to put in some time, be together again, play some new songs. That's my recalibration after being on the road. And then next month, I'm doing something which I think is very me coded. One of my music videos for What If I Die, Flying Over Oklahoma, got into 7 film festivals this year so far, which is another like experiment. I don't know what that's going to yield, but I know because my friend Nelson, who has directed the music video, and he did his first self-funded feature film. I almost say we're kind of like counterparts, where he's doing the film thing in a really independent way, still engaging with the industry. I'm doing music. I've learned a lot from him, but we are going to we're traveling together to 3 of the festivals, 2 or 3 of the festivals that it's in, literally just to see it on the big screen, potentially win an award, and meet people and talk to people who are deeply passionate about independent film.
That sounds like another example of collaboration and kind of your version of independent artistry, which is it's collaborative artistry, right? And Desert Five Spot, I think, same deal, right? The fact that I assume you've built a relationship with them because I know you've played there many times, and now you're curating a show there. Again, it seems like you've got this track record of collaborations that are mutually beneficial for the people involved and seem to be collaborations with other people that are quite independently minded as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for seeing me. I don't often think about it that hard. I think my compulsion is to keep going and to like intuitively trust the relationships that feel good. And yeah, it really is like a rising tide lifts all ships. And frankly, if you're working with another person or even many people, you can get 2 or 3 times as much done. And the impact of what you do is 2 or 3 times better. So why would you not? And everybody has strengths and weaknesses. I think I bring a lot to the table, but there's things that I'm not good at or I don't have yet. And not to say that I choose collaboration based off of that, but it is nice when it works out that you get along and you complement each other because of what you've done.
Right. It's not DIY, it's DIT. It's like do it together, right?
Oh my gosh. See, yeah, I feel like we needed to rebrand DIY to something less lonely.
Yeah, and which I think, despite the name, DIY is, I think of it as a collaborative thing. I think of it as a group of people putting on, non-traditional shows and stuff like basement shows, stuff like that. Well, thank you for taking the time to give us kind of the inside scoop of how this works and how doing it together is the collaborative approach that makes things happen. And for
Let's
all the help you give us at Harmonic as well. I think
keep going.
yeah, let's keep going. Let's
Always say.
hear more music out of you and support you on more island tours.
Beautiful.
All right. Thanks, Ray.